get started here, and I think that we're set to go. So for those that are new to working with international fertility insurance by chance, my name is Jason Smith. Started this company many years ago. I've been doing insurance since 2008. I've been doing surrogacy insurance since 2014. And we're grateful to work with about 2,010 parents each year. We work with a growing list of more than 225 surrogate agencies, attorneys, and clinics around the globe. And we are not focused on any one product or company, I should say. We work with about 100 different insurance companies. So we're always looking for the best mix of price and fitting the needs for the intended parents around the globe. So our focus points are down there at the bottom. We're known to be the market leader in responsiveness. If you've ever struggled from it taking days to get back to you from others, look no further. We try to get back to you in a matter of hours. For those that send us referrals, I'm sure you see this. We've got a couple of us in the inbox throughout the day, probably around once an hour. We're monitoring our referrals and getting back in a timely manner. Same thing with the ongoing responses. So we definitely are the leader in responsiveness, education, like we're doing today. But it goes beyond that. We have educational videos on every product and service we offer, including medical billing management we'll talk about today. Innovation, we are always striving to come up with creative solutions for the intended parents around the globe. We are, the latest is our stillbirth coverage that we launched a little bit more than a month ago to cover a loss of the baby after 20 weeks, which was something we heard in the feedback from intended parents. And so we're always pushing for new solutions like that. We have maybe 5 or 6 different things that are only available through IFI. And one of those is our medical billing management that we'll talk about today. The last thing I'll just point out is that we really try to be low pressure. You'll hear me, well, if you happen to sit in on a intended parent consult, you'll hear us say that we're not here to sell anything. It's just about education, and that we're just here to help guide intended parents to a good sound solution of products and services to meet their budget and their needs. So that's who we are. So today we're going to talk about medical billing management, and I wanted to start out by just pointing out this is something that you might see paired with ACA that we just finished, although it's still ongoing in a couple states. But for the most part, it's a completed session, successful. A lot of new companies that worked with us this year, and many that continue to. I think we did about 33% more than last year. So continuing to be a main area of focus for us. We have a dedicated team, and we're actually already working on next year. We had a pretty lengthy session last week, and are scheduling a 2-day session coming soon to focus on it while it's sort of fresh in our mind to get us even more dialed in for next ACA open enrollment. But again, this is very commonly paired, medical billing management that is very commonly paired with our ACA in our most comprehensive service level, which also includes everything else on the page. Not here to talk about ACA, but it can also be paired, of course, with an employer plan. So what is it? So medical billing management is our team engaging, and it's a professional, experienced team that is engaging throughout the process, basically from the confirmation of pregnancy on, all the way through the pregnancy, through the delivery, and postpartum even, until we've got zero balances on with every provider. So when I started, we had 3 people assigned to this, and we now have 9. So it gives you an idea. We've got 2 managers of medical billing specialists underneath them. One of them is going to be joining us on the call today, Callie. But we've got a couple people that are the core leaders of that team, and we just continue to expand it as we do more and more of these. And so we do this service for some of the largest agencies in the country, some small ones, some clinics, in relation to and attorneys that will refer us in relation to supporting independent journeys. So it's becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger part of our practice. And I think the reason why it's so useful, if I look at it from the agency's perspective, I think that it is something that can allow them to really focus on the intended parent, really focus on the surrogate and those relationships and the ongoing support, as opposed to being stuck trying to be medical billing, experts. And certainly it's by all means possible to have that on your team. But if you may just find that for a nominal fee that is either taken care of by the agency or taken care of, passed on to the intended parents, either way, that it's something that will just free up time and reduce stress for the agency. From the intended parents standpoint, where I think this is so useful is I've had consultations with agencies about what are their medical billing practices before they were referring this to us, and they basically weren't. So they essentially get the bill, pass it on to Seed Trust, for example, and it's paid. And there's no real clarity over whether it's accurate or not. I mean, they may look at it on the surface, but what we're doing is really picking apart the bill to make sure that it's accurate, that it's not excessive. If we find it excessive, we might argue back on that charge. Why is this provider listed that we're not familiar with? I mean, we're very engaged with the pregnancy the whole way through. So we should have awareness of who are the providers and making sure that the appropriate providers are listed. So it's not, it goes beyond that to even, is this payment then applied properly to the right segments of the insurance, and making sure that we're working in the best interest of the client to, meet their deductibles, meet their maximum out of pockets in a timely manner versus things being misappropriated. So what does it cover? Well, you see, and I'll just go back up to the top. What is it? One of the things we literally see, about 80% of the journeys have some complications in their medical billing. So it's not something that happens now and then, like some of the other things we offer. It's not, loss of reproductive organs. It's a great product, and I would argue it's necessary, but a hysterectomy is not something that happens every single time. But most of the pregnancies that we are overseeing the bills, we find errors. So it's definitely a useful service. What does it cover? See a big list there. We review the medical bills for accuracy. Like I've been saying, we're going to ensure that the payments are applied properly. We're going to be doing review of the OB global fees, the MFM, fees and specialist visits, the facility charges, the labs, ultrasounds, diagnostic testing, complications of pregnancy, and working through the steps when extra support is needed, providing estimates along the way, managing the escrow throughout, mitigating issues to get ahead of challenges. So instead of getting stuck in the muck afterwards, we're trying to get ahead of it by being thorough and in touch. When is it ordered? It's typically paired with ACA. I mean, that's definitely the most common, but we also have agencies that outsource this on every single case. So it's if it's an employer plan, that they're involving our team early, and we're taking over that process throughout. So it starts at the confirmation of pregnancy, which is generally speaking the ultrasound confirmation of the heartbeat, ends once we have a zero balance with all providers, which isn't just making assumptions. We're actually clarifying and confirming with the providers and the surrogate to confirm that we have zero balances. Without this, you run the risk of the surrogate being thrown into collection action, and so again, there's so many facets to this. It's such it's a detailed process, and it's a very intricate service, but from an agency perspective, again, if your surrogate goes into collections, it's not going to really be seen as a good experience for her, and she may not want to come back to using your agency for another go around. Same thing with intended parents. If they're hearing from the surrogate, or if they're experiencing challenges, they may be, if they're going to be coming back around, or if they're going to be referring others, they may be less interested in doing so. The goal here is to avoid that. So what does it cost? Well, they'll typically cost $2,000. However, that's discounted when it's paired with ACA, and it's discounted within our IFI surrogacy maternity plan, which we're also doing the medical billing management throughout that. So, now that we're outside of ACA, we have, many that turn to what we call the IFI surrogacy maternity plan, which is our proprietary twist on the Lloyd's of London plan to save intended parents money, but it does include our medical billing management. It's not outsourced to, NES, for example. I'm not here to knock NES, but just it's done in-house with us. So that you get a discounted rate on the IFI plan, you get a discounted rate when it's within our comprehensive ACA service. And if it was paired with just on a one-off paired with employer plan, it would be $2,000. But for agencies that are outsourcing this on all their cases, we're usually providing a volume discount as well. So what's commonly ordered? Again, it's pretty simple. Either it's paired with the ACA, or it's paired with the employer plan, or it's part of the IFI surrogacy maternity plan. I'm going to make sure if we have any questions here so far. Nope. So just wanted to then introduce Callie, who I believe is on the call now as a speaker. And Callie is, again, one of our team leads. She's her actual title is manager of agency relations. So, I'm real tight with the agencies, attorneys, clinics. But when we're talking about medical billing management or our local monitoring service, that we'll talk about, I think, in our next month's focus session, which is, again, not us doing local monitoring, but us providing guidance on clinics that are open to monitoring, that are taking on new patients, that we've experienced good results with in markets where you may be finding trouble finding it. We'll talk about that next month. And Callie plays a key role in leading the team and in sort of interacting with agencies with their questions throughout these. So Callie, if you want to maybe just introduce yourself, maybe I'll, before we go to this question and answer page here, maybe I'll go back to the previous, and if there's anything else that you want to chime in, feel free. And if not, then we'll move on to the questions.
Absolutely. So as Jason said, my name is Callie. I am manager of agency relations and directly work with the medical billing staff. I think just to, touch on some of the things that Jason said, the biggest thing for me, or in my experience working with intended parents, is the experience and professionalism that our medical billing team has really makes a difference when it comes to providing this service to clients.
Perfect. Yeah. So what we did is we sort of prepared, first of all, happy to take questions from anyone. You can do that via the chat function. You can do that via the question and answer. Both of these would be down at the bottom of your screen. So if there's we kind of prepared some back and forth between us, and we'll go through these, but if there's anything that we didn't answer, or after we finish these 6, or after we finish these 5, question 6 is if there's any questions from the audience, and we'll turn it over to you. So Callie, let's start with what did you see the biggest challenges for intended parents that don't have professional medical billing management support?
Yeah, great question. So I think for me and my experience and what my team has experienced, some of the biggest challenges that we see stem from just the inexperience. Intended parents, come with a broad range of what they've experienced for billing management systems. And if they are not comfortable either communicating with the hospital, with every hospital having different billing systems, sometimes that can look a little bit differently when working through that. I think our team does a great job of, establishing open communication with providers at the beginning of the journey. So that's kind of what we're starting with, which, as Jason said earlier, really eliminates and, mitigates any confusion when it comes to potential coordination benefit issues, in addition to allowing us to confirm the services are being charged correctly right from the start of the journey.
Perfect. In your experience, how are bills handled by agencies that don't use our service? Like when we take over. So, I can think back to some cases where inevitably there's about, I don't know, 20, 25 of these a year where an agency that isn't using us for medical billing management knows that we have these capabilities and they come back to us after the fact.
You're right.
An unraveling to the best of our ability at that point. But, to your awareness, how are bills handled when agencies aren't using our service?
I think when they're not using our service, it's either the agency or the intended parents handling the billing management. And one of the downfalls with that is, depending again on experience, some things aren't set up right correctly from the start of the journey. So when we're brought in on those cases on the back end, we commonly see coordination of benefit issues, in addition to, inaccurate statements, adjustments, sometimes lack of adjustments even being made. So most commonly we're brought in to essentially go back to the start of the journey and just fix sometimes all of the billing that has happened throughout the journey.
Yeah, so I'll just chime in on that. One of the things that we noticed a couple years back here was there was a frequency of we do more than 1,000 health insurance reviews a year, and in the past, what we did in those was we gave sort of basic knowledge of coordination benefits, and we had a disclaimer that said, if there's two plans, here's how you should treat it, and make sure you're aware which is primary, which is secondary, so forth. But we found that each year there was some that maybe just didn't pay attention to that or what have you, and we saw ACA plans being ordered even when to sit over a plan that maybe had a lien that was still going to remain primary. And so from that experience, we launched our coordination of benefits review service. That's an add-on, if you will, to the health review that gives a 2-page description of that. But with that, I think you're taking a core step in the right direction, because it's really laying out the detail of how one plan will work with another, and if it's appropriate to order an ACA plan, for example. But the real best practice would be to have the coordination of benefits review plus medical billing management, because the combination of the two, you'd be starting out right. Even our medical billing team would have the insight from the health review team with the coordination of benefits clearly laid out. And then to take it a step further, now we go into the actual experiences, and right off the bat, the medical billing team should be identifying if anything's happening incorrectly. And if an agency had by accident, or intended parents had by accident ordered a plan that wasn't going to fit, we could catch it early and make adjustments, as opposed to being 5-6 months into a pregnancy and then having the first provider or first insurance company that is reject claims and send them all back, and once they realize that there's another plan out there. So yeah, it's a core, really big thing. The other thing, I mentioned it, but again, I've heard from agencies that that just don't even look at the bills. If the intended parents are not choosing to add our service, they're just passing it on, and the bill's being paid. But the bottom line is that the intended parents could very well be spending, thousands of dollars more than they really needed to be, because it wasn't, an accurate bill. Moving on to number 3, Callie, can you give any examples of inaccurate billing that you've seen, or just speak to that?
Yeah, I think some of them that we commonly see are services being double charged, services being coded incorrectly, balances already being paid but not updated to the account. So there are times that, we make payments and receive another statement and the payment was not credited to the account, which I think, touches on the importance of reviewing the statements and having a specialized person that is only looking at your bills as a total and not just one specific bill. There are times that we see no insurance adjustments being made at all. So, baby is delivered and we're looking at the final OB bill for the surrogate and her insurance wasn't charged. There are, times that happens several months in a row. So I think, like I said, and Jason, has touched on it several times, just the importance of a focused person reviewing all of the statements for accuracy.
Yeah, I think back to, I've had 2 pregnancies myself. The first one was the one that I was really thrown for a loop. I had twins, and I was a working professional, and with the twin pregnancy particularly, there was just a bunch of, we had maybe, 15 ultrasounds or something. We had bed rest, we had 2 hospital stays, and with all of that, so a lot more focus and attention on the pregnancy, of course, as a result of these things. And I just remember I just had these bills just coming in and in and in, and I just remember this sort of growing stack of bills on my kitchen island. And eventually I got to them, and I started looking through them. I was just so overwhelmed. And then this is before I was in this industry. This was my kids are going off to college next year, so 18, 19 years ago that we're talking. But I just remember how weird it was that, like, sometimes a bill would start at one thing, and then the next, then it was another thing. And I could see where, if people didn't understand what they were doing, they would pay the first one before adjustments had happened, for example, and maybe be overpaying. So there's all sorts of things that are the benefits to this, especially for independent journeys. But I think even on the agency side, if all of this work isn't being done by the agency, or isn't, it's not a specialty, then it's a good service. So I think we already kind of went into number 4 in number 2, but anything else you want to add about coordination of benefits or the challenges? I think we kind of covered this already, but do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think we covered it already. I think, just to point out that it actually, when the coordination of benefits review is not happening, it's much more common that there will be issues than I think people realize. Just, saying that it's a lot more common for us to be brought in on the back end.
Yeah.
With issues.
There's a good 20, it seems like there's a good 20 cases a year where there was, these issues that agencies are just perplexed by after the fact, and intended parents are struggling with, and so forth. Moving on to number 5, can you just kind of give some understanding of how it works to get to a zero balance?
Sure. So our team does, I have to say, a fabulous job, working the case throughout. When it comes time to close, we typically, will then at that point know if there are any remaining balances. As far as we know, if the balances are at 0, our team contacts the providers directly. This includes the OB that the surrogate saw throughout her pregnancy. If there were any other providers, such as an MFM Sometimes, ultrasound techs are billed separately. So if we know that, she's seen this person, we contact that provider directly, in addition to the delivery hospital, to confirm zero balances. So that expectation is not on the surrogate, it's not on the agency. It is 100% our team that is reaching out, instead of kind of, we're not sitting back and waiting or saying, we already paid this bill, we know this. We are directly reaching out to receive confirmation that those accounts are sitting at zero balances and everything has been paid.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I think we've come to question 6. Is there anything that anyone that's listening in here would like to add? Any questions you have about how the process works, how you get started with us? Any questions, anyone? Okay. Well, it's been a very thorough explanation, so hopefully we solved any questions that you had. It's kind of a unique topic. It's not one that we focus on that much, but it's something that we have found that the agencies that use us for it find a lot of value, and so we thought that it was important to start focusing on this more. I think it's not just about adding more to each agency that we work with. I think it's about having a great process all around. And this is a rather expensive, it might be the most expensive thing we offer, but it's just such a crucial piece of the puzzle. So we hope that we can do it more and more for others out there. And with that, I think we've come to the end. If you have any questions, you can you'll see there Jackie of our team can be reached to help kind of organize connecting with me, the number there, or you can just reach out to us at info@internationalfertility.com. And actually, you're going to start seeing new emails for us. Spelling out international fertility is kind of cumbersome, so everybody on our team actually now has the secondary email of @goifi.com. So you can reach me at jason@goifi.com, but you can also continue to reach me at jason@internationalfertility.com. So you'll start seeing those in your work with us. Don't be surprised by it. It's just intended to make it easier for everybody. So you can reach us at info@goifi.com or info@internationalfertility.com. And either way, we are here to help you, and appreciate the chance to connect today, and wish everybody a great one. Maybe I'll see some of you at the donor egg meeting later this month, or in Berlin at the end of the month for men having babies. And if not, wish you all the best, and we're here to help. Thanks so much.